So first off, new podcast in the description. Spoke on Kevin Knox to the New York Knicks and then reviewed a whole bunch of rap albums, Nas, Jay-Z, and Beyonce, and then finally Kids See Ghosts. We're going to talk about the Phoenix Suns, the Orlando Magic, and then the Atlanta Hawks in this video today. We're going to start with the Phoenix Suns, and I think there is some reason to believe that TJ Warren could potentially be moved by these guys in the near future because of the recent moves they've made with drafting DeAndre Ayton and then trading for Mikal Bridges. And I think when you look at this team, I think they're trying to build this switchy, athletic, three-point shooting team around Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, which I think makes a lot of sense, specifically with Dragan Bender, Josh Jackson, Mikal Bridges. I mean, you can include Devin Booker there as well if he's not going to be a point guard. And I just don't know if TJ Warren really fits in with that because, to me, while TJ Warren can play, he's not a three-point shooter, which I think is kind of necessary if DeAndre Ayton's going to be posting up a lot. I think it's also necessary in order to make the Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton two-man game just more dangerous for opposing teams. You know, if they have someone they can leave open a bit on the perimeter, and that's going to make it easier for them, of course. And I know the initial counterpoint would probably be, well, what about Josh Jackson? You know, he's not much of a three-point shooter. That is true, but I think the thing with Jackson is, one, his shot isn't a lost cause, whereas TJ Warren's been in the league a few years now, and he's a good mid-range shooter, but that's not as valuable, of course. But then number two is Jackson seems like he can be a good defensive player, right? And I think that's another part of this, is that these guys want to have like a really quality defensive team between Josh Jackson, Bender, Mikal Bridges, three guys who can defend a few positions, you know, allow them to switch and all that, and probably help out DeAndre Ayton on defense. Whereas TJ Warren, I mean, if you've got him and Ayton out there, defensively that could be pretty rough, right? On top of if you got TJ Warren doing his like post-ups or his 15-foot isolations, and you got DeAndre Ayton just chilling around the rim, like it doesn't really work, you know. I picture them just getting in each other's way, and as a result of all this, I do think TJ Warren could be on the way out. Now, as far as what team would actually be willing to take him on, I mean, any team that is just looking for some offense, who is okay with a guy who's not really going to shoot threes like that, I guess that can work out. Perhaps if TJ keeps on improving on his post-ups, then he could be a guy who can attack some switches for you. I mean, I do think he still has some value offensively. I just think for this specific team who now has a post-up big guy, and that's not all DeAndre Ayton's going to do, of course, but that's a lot of what he's going to do. I just don't think it's a natural fit. Now, what could they use over TJ Warren? I think they could use a point guard who could play off of Devin Booker as well as initiate himself, and I know they just acquired Eli Okubo. They had him in the draft. Maybe he could be that guy, maybe not, but if you want to nail a more right now option, then potentially TJ Warren in a trade could help you do that. Maybe you want to acquire, hell, maybe you just want to get another three-point shooting defensive playing wing in place of TJ. I don't really know, but again, I just think with the recent choices the Suns have made in the draft, I just don't know if TJ Warren is the best fit for the team. Next, we move on to the Orlando Magic, who, after drafting Mo Bamba, have themselves a bit of a logjam at the center position, right? Between Nikola Vucevic and Bismack Biyombo. Now, I think between the two of them, Vucevic would be the easier one to trade because, one, he's the better player, and two, he's on a shorter contract. I say this because I assume that Biyombo is going to accept his $17 million player option in 2020. So the reason why you want to get Vucevic out of there, I mean, it's a pretty obvious one. You want to give Bamba as much minutes as possible, and you don't want to feel like you owe the minutes to Vucevic. You don't want to disrupt potential team chemistry, but you still want Bamba to get a lot of minutes because I think, I mean, defensively, Bamba projects to just be in a different world than Vucevic does. And I know that Vuce does have some offense to him in terms of like mid-range shooting. I know his three-pointer kind of became a thing this season. I don't think it's anything to really go nuts over. But I mean, offensively, while I do like the guy's playmaking, I don't think he's anywhere near good enough of a post-up player to warrant how many times he kind of hijacks the offense of Orlando. And you combine that with just how bad he is on defense, and I have a tough time believing Vucevic really makes his team better. Whereas if Bamba ends up being what we think he's going to be, which is an awesome defender, then that's clearly a more valuable player, right? And what could Orlando use as opposed to Vucevic? I mean, they could just use a guard, right? They need a point guard who can really create his own offense and make some outside shots, probably, and give you another legit shooter outside of just Evan Fournier. But I can't picture which team is really looking to acquire a big like Vucevic and then also trade away a point guard of that talent. Orlando might have to attach draft picks to acquire this sort of player, whoever it may be. I mean, I've seen people occasionally say they could really use Kyle Lowry, and I agree they could. One, I have no idea whether he would actually get moved from Toronto. Two, I doubt the Magic could really put an offer together for him. But that's the kind of guy that the Magic could definitely use, someone who can shoot threes and provide spacing and also give you a bit of a culture resurgence. But again, I don't know if Lowry is the outcome if they were to look for a guy like that. But I think that would still be very valuable. Just a point guard who actually can be respected offensively instead of what Vucevic does for you. He gets Bamba in there. Because even right now, like let's say you wanted to drop Vucevic's minutes down to, 25 a game. Even that is really too much for a guy in Vucevic who, he's a decent stats guy, box score stats at least, but of course, all the things that he doesn't do well. And how many minutes would that leave Bamba? Like at default, that would leave him with like 23 minutes a game. It's not as much as I would like to give him for his rookie season. I would love to have him around 27, 28 minutes a game. But that's about the limit of what you're going to have for him if Vucevic is still on this team. So I think it would benefit you for the Vuce to not be here for the sake of Bamba. And now finally we move to the Atlanta Hawks. They've made this one pretty obvious. They don't want Dennis Schroeder. Brian Windhorst has said he's very available. A bunch of people who were tweeting around the draft said that they will look for Schroeder to be moved this offseason. Schroeder's just in this weird spot where he's not really that great of an offensive player, but he still needs the ball in his hands. Like, he's not a good three-point shooter. He doesn't get to the line nearly enough. He's not good enough of a playmaker. He's just this weird in-between. He's in the Reggie Jackson school of you can do things, and you might put up some okay box score numbers, but you're really not great at anything, and as a result, there are much more efficient and just better options out there, and I think Trae Young's a better option. As far as what the Hawks could use besides Dennis Schroeder, honestly, just a quality player at any position. I don't really care what it is. I think Trae Young is your point guard of the future here, and Taurean Prince is either your 3 or your 4, depending on which one he ends up being better at, I don't know. But between shooting guard, small forward, or the 4, I guess, center, doesn't really matter to me. Like, if you can just find an opportunity to actually acquire someone who you think is decent, or hell, just more draft picks, I would do that for Schroeder if I was Atlanta, because you can't play him and Trae Young together, because defensively you would be so small at that point that you would just have way too many damn problems. But if you get one of them out of there, and, well, not one of them, if you get Schroeder out of there, then it gives you a chance on defense, because you won't have two guys who are super small out there. And then offensively, it'll give you more spacing. And I think it could just kind of get everything else going. It could help John Collins a bit more because the defense will have to respect Trae Young's jumper on pick and rolls. It can allow someone like a Taurean Prince to cut to the basket more often because at least Trae Young's defender won't be able to just pack inside the paint. So, good things. I mean, shooting is good, and I think Trae Young can do it. I also think Trae Young could probably be a better playmaker than Schroeder as well, and I think his playmaking has become underrated a bit, Trae Young, at this point. So, those are the 3 players for you. TJ Warren, Nikola Vucevic, Dennis Schroeder. I think the draft has shown that those 3 guys are either on the way out or their teams would like them to be on the way out. I will give TJ Warren the best chance of sticking around, I will say that much. But yeah, that'll do it. Once again, new podcast. Kevin Knox to the Knicks. Whole bunch of album reviews, and that's it.